Make Walters your spot, not only before and after every game at Nationals Park, but Walters also is right by Audi Field, and DC United, the Washington Spirit, and the DC Defenders are all in season.
Whether you're a world-class athlete or a podcaster like me, we all understand the importance of mental and physical well-being and proper recovery for top-notch performance. That's why I'm excited that Unified Healing is sponsoring this podcast. Unified Healing is a new and super innovative global network of wellness centers powered by Energy Enhancement System, or EE System. If you haven't heard of the EE System, you'll want to listen up. This technology promotes wellness, deep relaxation, purification, and rejuvenation. In hundreds of locations across the globe, access to a center is easy and affordable. Interested in experiencing the EE System technology for yourself? Go to unifiedhealing.com/bluewire to learn more and find a center near you. That's UNIFYDhealing.com/bluewire. No material or testimonials on the Unified Healing website are intended to be viewed as medical advice or a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or treatment and before undertaking a new healthcare regimen, including EE System.
Man is ready. And the pitch. Swinging a long drive to right center field. This is deep. Butler back to the warning track at the wall, and it is caught. Goodbye. A game-tying leadoff home run for Jesse Winker. And this game is tied here in the top of the ninth inning.
He deals. Swinging a little looper, shallow left. That's going to fall for a hit. Schumann coming around third. The throw in from Winker is not going to be in time, and the A's win in extra innings 2-1. They're going to mob Lawrence Butler behind the mound as he's delivered the game-winning single in the last of the 10th, scoring the rookie Schumann in his big league debut with the winning run. 2-1 the final. Oakland wins in 10.
And welcome to Nats Chat for Saturday, April 13th, 2024, what you might call Service Time Day 2024. Perhaps it will prove to be James Wood Day 2024, along with MASNsports.com Nationals insider Mark Zuckerman, who was at Oakland Coliseum, where the official attendance late night on Friday night was 5,777. I'm Al Galdi, host of the Al Galdi podcast. The final score of Game 1 of a 3-game series for the Nats at the Oakland A's was A's 2, Nats 1 in 10 innings. But you also could say that the final score was Lawrence Butler 2, Jesse Winker 1 in 10 innings, because Butler drove in each of Oakland's 2 runs, and Winker, in so many ways, was the Nats offense in this game. Jesse Winker was tremendous. 4 for 4, big solo homer, a double, and 2 singles. But Trey Lipscomb committed a bit of a base-running blunder in the top of the 10th. Kyle Finnegan gave up a walk-off, one-out opposite field RBI single by Lawrence Butler to left field on a 1-2 pitch, and the Nats fell to 5-8 in this regular season. We have a shout-out coming up later in the show. Email Tim Shovers if you want to send a shout-out on the Nats Chat podcast to someone who you care about. The email address is natschatpodcast@gmail.com. Also, you can find us on YouTube. Just search Nats Chat. Our YouTube handle is @Nats Chat Podcast. And please click on the thumbs up button. And please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. Doesn't cost you a thing and helps us out a lot. Mark, you on this Nationals 9-game trip out west have gone from the palace that is Oracle Park in San Francisco to the, shall we say, non-palace that is Oakland Coliseum. Have your baseball sensibilities properly adjusted to the change in venue?
No, Al, I think it's going to take all weekend before I get used to it, of course. Yeah, I'm staring out at Mount Davis right now, way out there, all tarped up. Speaking of tarps, there's a tarp on the infield right now because they're expecting rain all day Saturday, which could make for a very unpleasant situation. Hopefully not a doubleheader on Sunday, but I guess we'll deal with that whenever we get there. But it was strange coming here. I've been here a few times before. It hasn't changed at all over the years. But it was sad knowing that this is their last year here. And whatever you think about the ultimate decision of whether to stay in Oakland or go to Sacramento for a few years or eventually to Las Vegas, I mean, you have to feel for the fan base here. This is a proud franchise with some great history, and not just in little spurts here or there, but like they won 3 straight titles in the 70s. You had the great teams of the late 80s and early 90s. And then you had consistently good teams in the 2000s as well that would make the playoffs and then just never made it back to the World Series. And I know you cited that attendance number. You know, it was really bad to see that in person like that. But I know there's a fan base here. If this was a quality team, a quality product being put out there and in a better facility, I have no doubt that they could be successful here. And it's unfortunate, it's sad for all of them that they're not going to ever get the opportunity to prove that's true.
Yeah, I don't see the A's leaving as some glaring indictment of A's fans. The Oakland A's situation has been going on for many years. It is multi-layered. It is complicated. We're not here to do a deep dive on it, but there's a lot more to it than, oh, the fans aren't good enough. Like, no, it's a lot more complex than that. Well, a lot of different things happened in this game on Friday night. But there was a big-time positive, and that was Jake Irvin. Jake Irvin had been so-so at best over his first 2 starts of this regular season, but Irvin on Friday night was quite good. Now, yes, you have to consider the opposition, and yes, you also have to consider the ballpark. The Oakland Coliseum is known as a pitcher's park, but Irvin in this game, 1 run in 6 innings, and he gave up 1 hit. Now, the 1 hit was a sizable home run by Lawrence Butler on a bomb to right field in the bottom of the 3rd for a 1-0 A's lead, 445 feet per Statcast. But Irvin had 5 strikeouts versus 2 walks, only threw 74 pitches, 44 strikes, 30 balls, but he looked a lot better than he had looked over his previous 2 starts. So the 6-5 walk-off loss at the Cincinnati Reds on March 31st, 3 runs, 5 innings. The 5-2 loss to the Philadelphia Phillies at Nationals Park last Saturday, April 6th, 4 runs in 6 innings. Irvin giving the Nats what they need, especially with Josiah Gray out for who knows how long. You're going to need Irvin and Mackenzie Gore to do well, and Irvin on Friday night did do well.
Yeah, he was outstanding. I think the most telling stat of that is he never had to pitch out of the stretch until the 5th inning because the only base runner through the first 4 was Butler, who hit the home run. And so he trots around the bases, and now Jake Irvin is still pitching out of the windup after that. He was really efficient. You mentioned the low pitch count. Attacking hitters, was getting swings and misses, getting called 3rd strikes. I thought this was a really, really good outing by him, and he deserved a whole lot better than to come out of the game and have 1 hit to his name and be trailing. If he had taken the loss, he didn't in the end because of the Winker homer, but if he had taken the loss, he would have been only the 3rd starting pitcher in Nationals history to take a loss after giving up 1 hit in a game. And the other 2, this is an odd couple if ever there was one, Steven Strasburg and Odalis Perez. The only thing those 2 had in common is they both started opening day once for the Nationals. Well, Strasburg did a lot more than once. Otherwise, those 2 had nothing else in common, except they both took a loss on a day when they only gave up 1 hit.
Do you think Davey Martinez was tempted to keep Irvin in the game beyond the 6 innings, given that he only threw 74 pitches?
He was. That was initially the plan when the 6th ended. And then what happened was the top of that inning was really prolonged. The A's made 2 pitching changes. It was really chilly here and windy, the dugout, and Davey felt like it wasn't worth taking the chance to push that after he had sat on the dugout steps for quite a while. And they had all 3 of their top late inning relievers were available and ready. Jordan Weems, Hunter Harvey, Kyle Finnegan. We saw them go to all of them as the game played out. So little different circumstances. I think he would have let him go back out for the 7th, but the delay there was just too long. They figured it wasn't worth it.
So we'll get to the bullpen in a bit, but yeah, the Nationals offense in this game, if you get anything resembling a good offensive performance, this is probably an easy win for the Nats. But the Nats in this game, all kinds of problems with the A starter Paul Blackburn, who tossed 6 1/3 scoreless innings. The Nats for the game, 8 hits, 3 walks, struck out 10 times, went 0 for 10 with runners in scoring position, and yet we did have a very impressive singular offensive performance, and by Jesse Winker, who has become a real bright spot for the Nats so far this season. Winker on Friday night as the Nats starting left fielder and number 5 batter, 4 for 4. He in the top of the 2nd had a single through the right side of the infield, despite having been down at 1.02. Top of the 4th, a 2-out full count hustle double to right field. Top of the 7th, a leadoff single to center field, and then the biggest hit of all, Jesse Winker in a Nationals 1-run 9th, a game-tying leadoff full count home run to right field to tie the game at 1, despite having been down at 1.12. Now, if you are being objective about things, the homer came 1 pitch after a called ball 3 that should have been a strike 3, but whatever. Winker prolonged the at-bat, hit the home run. I thought this was an odd game for the Nats offensively because they were putting guys on base. Like, there were very few clean innings for A's pitching in this game. So I kind of felt like the Nats were going to score at some point. It felt like one of these innings was bound to be an inning in which the Nats scored a run. Sure enough, they get that run in the 9th inning. But man, Jesse Winker has really done a good job. I mean, here's a guy signed to a minor league contract, non-roster invite to Major League Spring Training. Wasn't signed till February 13th. And Winker now on the season, a .511 on base, a .528 slugging percentage.
Yeah, I think going into the season, if you had said, okay, which of these two non-roster signings is probably going to have the better year, Eddie Rosario or Jesse Winker, I would have said Rosario. I think most would have, just on the track record of recent years. Winker was good a few years back in Cincinnati, but not so much the last couple of years, actually. And Rosario pretty consistently good. Now, it's only 13 games in, so we'll see how this plays out. But Winker's been outstanding for them, and those were good quality at-bats against, obviously, a tough starting pitcher. Paul Blackburn, this wasn't just a case of the Nats making this guy look like a Cy Young Award winner. He has not given up a run yet this year. It's now up to 19 1/3 innings, I think, scoreless for him over the course of the season. He's a veteran. He's not a young up-and-comer or anything like that. Winker had faced him a good number of times, and I thought it was interesting. He said he's long since learned not to try to outthink Blackburn. I guess he's very much try to surprise you with this or that and do things that you're not expecting out there. And Winker decided, I can't do that anymore. I guess he had tried that in the past and was not successful. So he just tried to read and react whatever was being thrown to him. Obviously it worked because he was 4 for 4 in the game, and the rest of the team, I think, had 4 hits, all of them combined. So they needed this. And, you know, you mentioned potential as a call-up day for James Wood. For number one, I don't think that's happening yet anyways, not while they're out on the West Coast and have a quick turnaround to a day game on Saturday. But whatever you think about this, Jesse Winker is playing well enough to deserve to stay in the lineup. That's not to say that he's ultimately a better player than James Wood will be, but you're probably not going to make that move until James Wood is tearing it up at AAA, which he is, and something happens at the big league level to create an opening, whether it's one of these guys struggling or somebody getting hurt. Right now, Jesse Winker deserves to keep playing for the time being.
Well, and you think about Nationals outfielders at the major league level so far this season. You have 2 guys on the 10-day injured list, Stone Garrett, Victor Robles. You have Lane Thomas, who was doing well for a few games there, but overall has not had a very good season and has cooled off over these last few games. The aforementioned Eddie Rosario really hasn't done much yet. I mean, the Nats' best outfielder offensively, and you could argue defensively with the outfield assists, has been Jesse Winker. Like, he really has stood out. He has been very productive, and you don't even have to think about it. Like, who's been the Nats' best outfielder so far this season? It's Jesse Winker.
Yeah, no doubt. And, you know, again, maybe they thought that Rosario or Senzel or somebody else was their best hope to get off to a good start to the year and have some trade value in July. Well, at the moment, you got a long way to go, but at the moment, Jesse Winker is the one who may have the most value. So keep him out there, get what you can from him until the time comes to make a move there. But it's been nice to see. I know a lot of people who follow him over his career are really happy for him because they believe this is a guy who has always had the ability to be a really good player and then had some tough times the last few seasons. He lost weight, we've talked about, down 25 pounds, and he's playing a complete game for them right now. And I'm not sure a lot of people would have expected that 2.5 weeks ago when the season began.
Football season may be over, but the action on the floor is heating up. Whether it's tournament season or the fight for playoff home court, there's no shortage of high-stakes basketball moments this time of year. Get in on the excitement with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app, where you can turn your hoops knowledge into serious cash. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000 with NBA, NHL, and college basketball entries today on Prize Picks. Prize Picks even offers injury insurance so that your entries stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. This week on Prize Picks, I'm selecting Giannis Antetokounmpo for more than 32.5 points and LeBron James for more than 8.5 assists. Download the app today and use code BLUEWIRE for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code BLUEWIRE on the Prize Picks app for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy with Prize Picks.
Philip has just lost the respect of the youth league football team he coaches. He was asked what New England should do in the draft, and his answer was objectively terrible. The Athletic just wrote a great article about this. But Phillip doesn't have the athletic or the respect of a boisterous group of 11-year-olds who once looked up to him. Learn from Phillip's error, get the athletic, and get the info you need to speak draft fluently.
And the first pitch, Abrams hits a line drive. It is short hop by the first baseman, Nevin. He steps on first, throws to third, and it's going to be a double play. Oh, my. It looked like Nevin may have caught it in the air, but the first base umpire, Hoy, signaled no catch. And so Lipscomb was kind of hung out to dry. Nevin steps on first, Lipscomb breaks for third, and is gunned out. And the free runner is gone on one pitch.
Well, another on-the-cheap free agent signing by the Nats was Joey Gallo, and you would hope that Joey Gallo will ultimately prove to have some trade value. Joey Gallo got ejected from this game. This was pretty much like a low-drama ejection. There wasn't like a big scene or anything like that, but Gallo on Friday night, starting first baseman, number 3 batter, 0 for 3 with a walk and 2 strikeouts. He was ejected from the game after striking out looking for the second out in the top of the 8th. Now, all 3 of the strikes in the plate appearance were called strikes, but all 3 were legitimate strikes, at least off what I saw. I mean, this was not like some egregious case of, terrible umpiring. Was anything said post-game by either Davey or Gallo about the ejection?
No, other than Davey said that, he was upset about the call and Davey tried to intervene, but it was too late by the time that he did. And I agreed. I didn't think anything of it as he strikes out and goes back to the dugout, and I'm not paying any attention. And then all of a sudden, the next inning starts, and Trey Lipscomb had taken his position at third, and then all of a sudden he comes jogging in, and Ildemaro Vargas replaces him. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, something happened with Lipscomb? How come Vargas is in at third? And then you realize, no, Lipscomb was just trading in his glove for a first baseman's mitt to go there. And then you realize, I think Joey Gallo got ejected and Davey was yelling from the dugout steps at that point. So I think whatever it was he said may not have even come until the inning was over. I don't know if they caught it at all. Masson saw any of the video of it, but I think it may not have even happened till after the inning was over with. And why Gallo decided then, maybe just getting some frustration out, I don't know. There were some bad calls during the course of the game that went against them. And as you said, some that went against the A's as well. But that particular at bat, I thought he actually called those pitches the correct way.
So players in dugouts have iPads, right, or tablets by which they can look at calls in just concluded plate appearances. It looked, from what I saw on Masson, that Gallo was looking at a tablet in the dugout, and that might have prompted him to say something to the umpire. But again, if you go off like the strike zone plots, these were strikes. I mean, I don't know what to say. Like, I don't know what he was upset about necessarily. You mentioned Trey Lipscomb. So, again, we've talked about this previously with these base running blunders by the Nats. When you don't hit, these things really get magnified. Lipscomb was the Nats' automatic runner on second base to begin the top of the 10th inning. He attempted to take third base on a leadoff first pitch ground out by C.J. Abrams. Abrams, by the way, did not have a good game on Friday night. 0 for 5 with 3 strikeouts. First pitch, swinging, grounds out to the A's first baseman, Tyler Nevin. And then Lipscomb takes off for third base, and Nevin throws across the diamond, easily gets Lipscomb out at third base for a 3-5 double play. Now, this was a bit of an odd play in that the grounder initially maybe looked like a line drive, and so it perhaps a bit confusing. But whatever, that was painful to see. I don't know if you categorize that as a tootbland by Trey Lipscomb, but that certainly was a costly out that was made by Trey Lipscomb.
Yeah, more the latter, I think, than the former, because it was, a tough play. But the key there, and Trey admitted it himself at the end of the night, is once you freeze, just go back to second. There's no reason to try to force that issue. You can still score the go-ahead run if you just wait for your next hitter to possibly do something. So, it would be 1 out and a runner on second. You still have a great opportunity to score there. And that's the kind of thing that I think you have to consider also when you're in extra innings, that it's a different ball game now. You are precious out there at second base in extra innings as the automatic runner. And when you are the visiting team in those situations, extra innings, I think it's magnified even more. You basically have to score in the top of the inning, because if not, you can now lose the game without really doing anything wrong. You can lose the game with a sac bunt and a sac fly. Game over. Now, that's not exactly what happened in this case, but it can. And so I think the pressure in those extra innings is all on the visiting team to get at least that one runner in. And if you are that runner, you have to recognize how important it is. And unless you are 100% sure you're going to make it to third, just hold up. You're still in scoring position. No harm done if you hold up there. I think even if he goes on contact, he might be thrown out because the ball was hit right towards first base. And I think first baseman could have stepped on and at least made a decent throw to get him. So maybe earlier in a game, you treat that a little differently. But to me, in extra innings, in that case, understand the value of your being on second base in the first place and don't run into any outs. Keep yourself there and let the next guy try to drive you in.
Yeah, it was not a great game for the Nats on the base pass. We had what happened with Lipscomb in the 10th inning. Lane Thomas in this game, top of the third, a 2-out infield single on a weak chopper to the left side of the infield, but he then was caught on an attempted steal of second base for the third out. And Joey Meneses, who did have a hit in this game, and he needs all the hits he can get right now, 1 for 4 with a single, but top of the second, leadoff single to center field, and then he got thrown out at home on a one-out fielder's choice grounder off the bat of Riley Adams. So again, if you score 6 runs, you hit 3 home runs, we're not talking about these things, but these things happen and they stand out in a 2-1 10-inning loss.
Well, and for all the praise that they were getting for their base running leading up to this, I wrote about it myself on the off day. This was not a good base running game for them at all. On the Meneses play, he was called safe, and he was adamant. He slid in and he signaled safe very forcefully, believing he was in. I watched the replay like 10 times. They kept showing it over and over because that was a really long review. I personally didn't see anything in the review that conclusively said he was out. He may have been out, but I felt like that was a case where the original call stands. Maybe you saw something different, that it was more definitive. But to me, I didn't think there was enough there to be able to rule him out. Yeah, clear, maybe not. It looked like they got him like in the pectoral region or armpit area. And so, but yeah, it wasn't crystal clear to your point. I mean, I will stand with you on that. You mentioned the nature of these extra inning losses and how you can kind of do nothing wrong, but still give up the walk-off run or the game-winning run. And we did have that in a lot of ways in this game on Friday night. Kyle Finnegan in the bottom of the 10th, he allowed a run unearned, recorded 1 out, issued an intentional walk, got an out, and then gave up the walk-off single. But it was just 1 out, opposite field, RBI, flare to left field by Lawrence Butler, albeit on a 1-2 pitch, and that was it. The game was over. Some interesting stuff, though, I thought, with the Nats bullpen in this game. So ultimately, 4 Nats relievers combined to allow 1 run unearned in 3 into third innings. Jordan Weems, bottom of the 7th, faced 3 batters, got 2 outs. Robert Garcia, another impressive outing, 1 1/3 perfect innings. And then Hunter Harvey, he tossed a scoreless, hitless, and walkless bottom of the 9th to preserve the tie. 2 swinging strikeouts, 2 big swinging strikeouts. Second baseman Nasim Nunez committed a fielding error on a leadoff grounder by the Virginia product, Zach Geloff. Nunez had entered the game as a pinch runner in the top of the 9th, and we know that Nunez is known for his defense, commits his fielding error, but then Harvey really came through. Back-to-back swinging strikeouts of Oakland's numbers 4 and 5 batters, J.D. Davis and Seth Brown for the second and third outs. I've said to you, I want to see Harvey be more of a strikeout pitcher, given his stuff. Those were 2 big, impressive strikeouts by him in that spot. And remember, this is his first appearance since getting hit with the line drive back in the hand a couple days ago in San Francisco. So if there was any fear that he was seriously hurt, he looked great coming out here in this one and throwing smoke. 98 to get Davis, and then went to the splitter to get Brown. And that's with a runner in scoring position, the error, and then he stole second after that. And as you're sitting there in the press box and you're kind of anticipating what might happen, you're writing your game story as it's going on. I'm thinking to myself that Nunez error might be the thing that cost them the game, because he came in to pinch run for Luis Garcia in the top of the inning, obviously didn't score. Now he takes over at second base. That should be a defensive upgrade. And then sure enough, he commits the error, unable to make the play on the first batter out there. And that would have been a very tough way for the rookie to be indoctrinated into this game and have it, a loss maybe hung on you for making an error. But Hunter Harvey took care of that, cleaned it up, and that's a good sign to me if he's coming back a couple days after getting hit by the line drive and looks that good out there like he did. All right, a few notes on the Nats. Riley Adams was the Nats starting catcher, number 7 batter, 1 for 3 with a single and a walk. Keibert Ruiz again did not start. He has not played in a game since this past Monday, has been dealing with illness. Usually a guy is sick, you miss a game, maybe 2. This has been more than that. Is he doing all right? He seems to be doing better, yeah. So he thought he was doing better. He told them he was doing better on Wednesday, and that's why they sent Drew Millas back to Rochester. They had the third catcher here just for the day. It had nothing to do with Ruiz being sick. They sent him back, and then on the off day, Thursday, he got sick again and spent the whole day in his hotel room with flu-like symptoms. And before the game, seeing him in the clubhouse, he did not look very well at all. And you're thinking like, man, if they could have gone back and done that over again, they would not have sent Drew Millas back. They would have kept him around because Riley Adams was their only healthy catcher for this game. And if anything had happened to him, it was going to be Ildemaro Vargas behind the plate. But then during the game, I noticed because Riley Adams needed time to get his gear back on because he had hit the previous inning, Keibert Ruiz was the one who went out and warmed up the pitcher between innings. So that said to me, okay, that's a good sign. Davey said afterwards he was feeling a lot better. I saw Keibert in the clubhouse. He had his uniform on and seemed to be doing okay. They better hope he is because it's a quick turnaround, as I said, Saturday. You don't normally want to start Riley Adams a day game after a night game. So the hope would be that Ruiz is ready to play. I don't think they're bringing Millas back as far as I know. So it's either Ruiz healthy enough or Adams is going to catch a day game after a night game on a day that's supposed to be cold and rainy all day as well.
We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Hey, it's Kaylee Cuoco for Priceline. Ready to go to your happy place for a happy price? Well, why didn't you say so? Just download the Priceline app right now and save up to 60% on hotels. So whether it's Cousin Kevin's Kazoo Concert in Kansas City, go Kevin, or Becky's Bachelorette Bash in Bermuda, you never have to miss a trip ever again. So download the Priceline app today. Your savings are waiting.
Go to your happy place for a happy price. Go to your happy price, Priceline.
Both Rochester and Harrisburg had their games rained out on Friday night. In High A, Wilmington defeated the Aberdeen Ironbirds 9-4 on the road. Outfielder Dalen Lyle had a pair of walks and scored a run in the win. Back in spring training, Lyle drew headlines by scarily falling into the Red Sox bullpen and needed to be carted off the field. He suffered no broken bones nor concussion from the fall. Now back to the show.
I'm glad that he's got full range of motion. Now it's just building up strength. Back in his arm, back in his forearm. He's doing a lot of other stuff to keep himself ready. As soon as we feel like he's able to throw, we'll start him on a throwing program.
We did get that anticipated pitching move on Friday. The Nats recalled reliever Amos Willingham from AAA Rochester. But as we know, another move is going to be coming because the Nats are going to need another starting pitcher given the absence of Josiah Gray. Now, Davey Martinez did give you a Josiah Gray update prior to the game on Friday. What did Davey have to say?
It was good news there. He has full range of motion already in the arm, so that's a great sign. Now, he's not throwing yet, anything like that, but they can, I guess, start the rehab process. And, this isn't going to be a case where he just has to be shut down for a long amount of time. So that's good on that front. There were some other injury updates. Stone Garrett is starting a rehab assignment, finally, ready to play at AA Harrisburg. Nick Senzel is probably a day or two away, a few more games at Harrisburg, and I think they're going to bring him up maybe for the LA series. We'll see him. So that's a good sign. And then, like you said, they've got to figure out who's going to start. It's either going to be Monday or Tuesday in LA. And Jackson Rutledge actually took a line drive off what it looked like his right ankle or foot, somewhere in that, on Thursday, and was down in a lot of pain and had to be helped off the field. And I asked Davey if he had any news on Rutledge today, and he said he had not gotten any update yet. I don't know how to interpret that as in, well, it's not a big deal, so they haven't told me anything, or it is a big deal or potentially a big deal and we're waiting on results of something like that. So if Rutledge was supposed to be the guy to be called up to face the Dodgers, That would probably be in doubt right now. Maybe it's possible if he's okay, but that might be very much in doubt. At which point, what exactly do? You cannot call Yohan Adon back up unless he is replacing somebody who's been injured. So we may be looking at somebody like Mitchell Parker making his major league debut at Dodger Stadium next week. Hopefully we'll learn more in the next day or two.
And by the way, for those who don't know this, the Nats have this series at Oakland, then the series at the Dodgers, then the 5-year anniversary World Series championship celebration series against the Houston Astros, and then play the Dodgers again. The Dodgers are at Nationals Park after the Astros, so kind of a quirk in the schedule. 2 out of the next 3 series are against the mighty Dodgers. So with Josiah Gray, when is it reasonable to expect him back, assuming that this situation is what we think it is and that is not as serious as it could have been? I mean, do you think mid-May is realistic? Do you think sooner than that?
It could be. My sense is that we're talking weeks as opposed to months with that, which is a good thing. The key part is, when is he able to start throwing again? Because if there is any real delay in that, you run the risk now of kind of having to start all over again and build his arm back up. And now he's got to throw long toss and then bullpen session and then live hitters and then go on a minor league rehab assignment. So if he can, in the next, I'd say, a week or two, begin throwing again, he might be able to avoid that long buildup again because it's still fresh enough. And so maybe he can come back, only a few weeks after that. But if this is a case that he has to wait a while till he can even start throwing, now you're talking about a more prolonged rehab program and throwing program, and that alone could take a month, perhaps, after he's finally been cleared to throw. So I think probably this next week is going to be key in that. If he's able to start making progress and maybe pick up a ball, start throwing, that maybe would allow him to come back sooner. I don't think they're worried about this being long-term, but, with a pitcher, there are very few arm injuries that allow you to come back in a matter of only a couple of weeks. It's usually going to be at least 4 weeks, if not more than that.
Yeah, and I heard Mike Rizzo on his weekly appearance with the Sports Junkies on Wednesday, and even he said, we're going to take our time with this. So, you say to yourself, well, what does that mean exactly? Even if it is just a few weeks, could it end up being a month, maybe even more than a month? We don't know. And of course, if it ends up being worse or he feels pain again, then all bets are off when he might be back. The Nats, we talked about this last season, right, enjoyed remarkable health when it came to in-season health with the rotation, and also enjoyed pretty good health with position players. There were some guys who got hurt, Victor Robles, Stone Garrett later in the season, but by and large, last season was a good injury season in terms of injury luck. You think about this season already, you have the Josiah Gray situation. You have Victor Robles again injured. You had what happened with Nick Senzel. You began the season with guys like Cade Cavalli and Mason Thompson and Jose A. Ferrer out. You have this Keibert Ruiz illness. You had Jesse Winker have to leave a game due to illness. It feels like the injury/illness gods aren't on the Nats' side this season, at least so far, like the gods were last season.
Yeah, and I think everybody came into the year knowing there was a good chance that was going to be the case. They were lucky last year when it came to that kind of stuff, and so far they're maybe a little less so. And it's the reason why they wanted, especially from a pitching standpoint, to have more depth. They believe they have it, but if Rutledge got hurt, that's your number one depth option. All of a sudden, he's not available, so that could come back to haunt them. We'll see. It's a long road. They only used 8 starting pitchers last year. They've already used 6. They're probably going to have their 7th here within the next few days. I'll be real interested to see come season's end, how many starting pitchers do they use? It could, most likely it's going to be in the double digits. You just hope it's not too many more than 10 or 11.
Yeah, we also had C.J. Abrams missing multiple games with his pinky situation. So the ailments are piling up here early for the Nats, although nothing seems too serious, which is good. All right. Happy birthday, Brent. Here's to watching many more Nationals games together. Much love from Linda. And we are told that Brent and Linda planned their spring vacation around the Nats California road trip. So great. Happy birthday, Brent. Another shout out. We're getting a good number of these shout outs. Will we have by the end of the season more Nationals victories or more shout outs? That's I think, an intriguing race that's emerging here.
Well, if we get one of these every day, then that's a good sign. That I can't imagine they're going to win enough games to keep up with that. But can we get, what was my prediction, 76 wins? Can we get 77 shout-outs? I think we can get 77 shout-outs. I don't know if we can reach your 82. That's a high number. That's a high bar to set. Let's challenge everyone out there to give us at least 83 shout-outs so Al doesn't have the satisfaction of predicting more wins than shout-outs.
More shout-outs than wins. That is the goal for the listenership of this podcast. Hit us up on X at Nats_chat. You can email the show, natschatpodcast@gmail.com. We invite you to check out our website, natschatpodcast.com, in which you can buy a Nats Chat Podcast t-shirt. All Nationals radio highlights on Nats Chat are courtesy of 106.7 The Fan. For Mark Zuckerman, I'm Al Galdi. We thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next time on the Nats Chat Podcast.
You know how to book flights and hotels. All you're missing is a tool to plan the travel experiences you'll have once you arrive. That's why you need Viator. Book guided tours, activities, excursions, and more in one place to make your trip truly unforgettable. Viator has over 300,000 travel experiences to choose from. Everything from simple tours to extreme adventures and all the niche, interesting stuff in between. So you can plan something that everyone you're traveling with will enjoy. Real traveler reviews give the inside scoop from people who've already been on the experiences you're considering. So you can plan with confidence. Free cancellation helps you plan for the unexpected. And 24/7 customer support means you can travel worry-free. Download the Viator app now and use code Viator10 for 10% off your first booking in the app. Find travel experiences for you. Do more with Viator.